Welcome back to Raptor-One.
Raptor-One, Voyagers of the Stars. Chapter 25, First Flame, Extended Edition. The Choice of the First Radiant. The map of the constellation glowed before them like a constellation of wounds waiting to be healed. 12 lights burned faint and far. 12 promises. 12 threats. Kael leaned over the console, jaw clenched. We can't hit them all at once. So where do we start? Juno's fingers hovered above the map, trembling. The constellation doesn't ask for convenience. It asks for order. The first node is here. She tapped a dim point buried in the husk of a cracked world. Its pulse was low, mournful, steady. Lyra felt it in her hollow like a drumbeat echoing through ash. The world scarred by autumn fire. Kael growled. A battlefield. An ember, Juno whispered, waiting to be kindled. Lyra set the course. Then we light the first flame. Descent to the wound. The planet turned beneath them, a scarred sphere split by ancient bombardment. Once it had been green and thriving. Now its surface was broken into vast canyons of molten rock, its skies heavy with smoke. Cities lay in ruin, their glass towers melted into rivers of slag. Sensors revealed traces of resonance deep beneath the crust, flickering like a heartbeat trapped under stone. That was the Radiant, still alive despite the devastation. But they were not alone. Autumn patrols circled the surface, their red signatures prowling like carrion beasts unwilling to let the world rest. Kael swore under his breath. We'll have to cut through. Lyra's hands tightened on the yoke. No, we go beneath them, into the scar. Juno's shard pulsed faintly, guiding them downward. The Radiant waits in the world's wound. The scar below. Raptor-One descended into a canyon vast enough to swallow cities. The rock glowed faint from the heat, still bleeding from the bombardment centuries past. Lightning crackled along fault lines. The further they went, the stronger the shard pulsed. The bond tightened, heat pressing against their skulls until Lyra thought her hollow might split. At last, the canyon opened into a cavern, a chamber hollowed by fire and grief. In its center rose the Radiant, fractured but unbroken, a tower of crystal scarred black, but still pulsing faintly. Juno gasped, tears spilling down her cheeks. It's still alive. Kael muttered, almost reverent despite himself. Barely. The Guardian of Ash. Before they could approach, the Radiant stirred. From its cracks spilled light that coiled and condensed, forming into a figure of burning glass. Its body was jagged, edges glowing with heat, its eyes hollow flames. A guardian wrought from the Radiant's own pain. The bond flared with its voice. This world burned. This flame endured. To kindle it, you must bear the ash. Take the grief, or the fire will consume you. Kael raised his rifle instinctively. Figures it wouldn't be easy. Juno's shard pulsed hotter, her voice trembling. It doesn't want to fight. It wants us to carry it. Lyra stepped forward, hollow aching. Then we carry it together. Bearing the flame. The Guardian's light flared. Ash swirled in the cavern, clinging to their bands, searing into their bond. Lyra felt it first, a flood of memory that was not hers. Families turned to cinders, choirs silenced in fire, entire oceans boiled away. Her knees buckled. Juno screamed, clutching her shard. Kael staggered but stayed upright, jaw locked in fury. The Radiant demanded not strength, but endurance. Lyra forced the bond open, letting the grief pour through all three of them. She let the hollow ache, let it hold the pain instead of resisting. Kael's rage gave it edges, Juno's faith gave it breath, and together they bore the weight. The Guardian's flame softened. The ash settled into their bands. Fracture accepted. Ash endured. First flame kindled. The radiant flared, its light blazing through the cavern, up through the canyon, into the sky. Autumn patrols above reeled, their certainty faltering as the flame burned. The flame's gift. As the radiant blazed, it released its gift, a fragment of crystal that floated into Lyra's hands. It pulsed with the rhythm of grief, transmuted into strength. Juno whispered, the ember shard. Kael exhaled slowly, almost reverent. 1 lit. 11 to go. Lyra felt the hollow inside her thrum, the shard of ash pulsing in rhythm with the new flame. For the first time, the hollow didn't just ache. It carried fire. The war waiting. But above, autumn's signatures multiplied. The light of the radiant had revealed itself, and the autumn were converging. Juno's voice trembled. They'll try to snuff it out. Lyra gripped the yoke, eyes steady. Then we burn brighter. Raptor-One rose from the canyon as the first flame blazed across the world, its song echoing into the constellation. 1 light had been kindled, 11 remained. And the war for the 12 had begun in earnest. The Radiant's awakening. The cavern walls trembled as the Radiant's light surged, its fractured body glowing with fierce defiance. The heat pressed against their skin, and for a moment Lyra thought the entire planet might shatter under the force of its rebirth. But the Radiant did not break. It sang. A low, resonant note rolled outward through the canyon, across the scarred surface, and into the void beyond. It was not beautiful, not yet, but it was steady, like the first breath of a body long suffocated. Juno clutched her shard, tears streaming. It remembers. Even after all this fire, it remembers. Kael's gaze swept upward, his voice hard. Then we'd better make sure it lives long enough to keep singing. The autumn descent. The song had consequences. Above the canyon, autumn ships descended, sleek, angular, their certainty pulsing in red arcs. They fell into formation with mathematical precision, their movements so exact it hurt to watch. Their certainty pressed into the bond, words etched into thought. Error awakened. Error will be erased. Flame will be silenced. Lyra's hollow trembled under the weight, but the shard of ash on her wrist pulsed back, defiant. Kael slid into the gunner's seat, eyes alight. Finally, something I can answer with fire. The battle and the scar. The canyon became a crucible. Raptor-One roared upward, weaving between jagged cliffs as autumn fighters dove. Kael's guns spat flame, carving through their perfect arcs with ragged defiance. Each kill broke a fragment of their certainty, forcing them to adjust, to recalculate. But more descended, dozens, then scores, their red pulses pressing harder into the bond. Juno cried out, clutching her shard. They're trying to smother the Radiant again. They want its voice gone. Lyra pulled the yoke, driving Raptor-One closer to the Radiant itself. The shard of ash pulsed in rhythm with its song. Then we sing louder. The braid burns. The bond seared hot as they pushed harder than ever. Kael's fury sharpened into precision, every shot a blade against certainty. Juno's voice poured into the shard, her hum steady, anchoring the radiant song. Lyra's hollow opened wide, not to be filled, but to carry both of them, giving space for their voices to echo. The braid flared. For a moment, Raptor-One moved not as a ship, but as a body with 3 hearts, 3 breaths. Their fire and the Radiant's voice rose together, ash and flame woven into one. The autumn's fracture. The autumn pressed harder, certainty pounding like a drumbeat. Error cannot endure. Erase, erase, erase. But their formation faltered. The Radiant's song burned through their rhythm, pulling their arcs out of sync. Kael's shots found them one by one, tearing apart their perfection. When the last fighter fell in burning silence, the canyon shook with the Radiant's pulse. For the first time in centuries, the first flame sang without chains. The Ember Shard. The Radiant's light condensed once more, releasing a fragment that floated to Lyra's hands. Unlike the shard of ash, this one glowed deep orange, its surface cracked but steady. Juno's voice trembled with awe. The Ember Shard, born of grief, carried through fire. Kael let out a long breath, sweat streaking his face. 1 lit. 11 left. And if they all hit this hard? He shook his head. We're going to bleed before we're done. Lyra held the shard close, her hollow thrumming. The Ember Shard pulsed in rhythm with the shard of ash, the 2 imperfect voices joining into something stronger. The Radiant's farewell. As they departed, the Radiant's voice whispered faintly through the braid, its words cracked but steady. Flame endures. Ash carries. Together, the fire spreads. The canyon fell behind them, glowing faint with the flame reborn. Autumn wreckage smoldered across the surface, but the Radiant stood, scarred yet alive. Toward the next light. In the cockpit, silence lingered. Kael sat at his guns, eyes distant. Juno leaned against her seat, exhausted but smiling faintly. Lyra kept her hands steady on the yoke, hollow aching but no longer empty. The map still glowed with 11 points. 11 Radiants waiting. 11 battles to come. Lyra whispered, the first flame burns. Now we carry it to the next. The shard pulsed. The constellation hummed. And Raptor-One turned toward the second note.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to be notified about upcoming releases to the Raptor-One series, please subscribe. This has been a Bad Karma Drone production.